Good morning, everyone. Today, we're going to explore a topic that has become an integral part of modern life, especially for young people around the world: social media. I'm going to begin by providing you with an outline of our lecture. First of all, our introduction will provide a definition of social media, some background information, and a brief history, and look at some examples of social media platforms and their various functions. Then, the first main chunk of the lecture will be concerned with discussing the positive impact that social media has on young people. After that, we will move on to examine some of the more negative aspects of social media, again with a focus on young people. Finally, we will move on to discuss some of the actions that governments are taking to regulate social media behaviour and platforms, before we conclude the lecture and summarise the main points. So, to begin with, what exactly is social media? According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, social media is forms of electronic communication such as websites for social networking and microblogging, through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content such as videos. Essentially, social media platforms are online spaces where people can connect, share content, and engage with others. Some of the most popular examples include Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube. Some of you may also be familiar with Weibo or Douyin in China. These platforms have changed the way we communicate, consume information, and interact with the world around us. However, it's important to distinguish social media from messaging apps like WhatsApp, WeChat, Telegram, and Signal. While they facilitate online communication, messaging apps are usually designed for one-on-one communication or group chats in a more private setting. There's no public news feed or open sharing of content like on Facebook or Twitter. So apps focusing just on messaging often aren't considered true social media. The concept of social media as we know it today began to take shape in the early 2000s. Most of you will not remember MySpace, one of the first widely popular social networking sites, launched in 2003. But it was Facebook, founded in 2004, that truly led the way in social media becoming such a widespread phenomenon. Not long after this, in 2007, Steve Jobs, the then CEO of Apple, announced the launch of the iPhone. Smartphones equipped with front-facing cameras enabling the selfie photo are clearly linked to the rise of social media. Since then, we've seen an explosion of platforms, each with its unique features and appeal. Here are a few well-known examples. First of all, let's think about Instagram. This platform is popular for photo and video sharing. It's particularly popular among teens and young adults for its visual nature and stories feature. Then we have TikTok, a short-form video platform that has seen explosive growth, especially among younger teens, due to its engaging and often humorous content. Next, there's Snapchat, which is popular for its disappearing messages and fun filters. It remains a favourite for quick, casual communication among friends. Next, most people know YouTube. While not always considered traditional social media, this video sharing platform is hugely popular among young people for both entertainment and educational content. And finally, today there is Twitter, where users post messages known as tweets, which can be grouped together by topic using hashtags, liked and resent or retweeted, to use the jargon of Twitter. Today, social media is much more than just a way to stay in touch with friends. It's a source of news, entertainment, education, and even a marketplace for goods and services. For young people, it's often an extension of their social lives and a significant part of their daily routines. Here are a few numbers to consider. According to recent global statistics, there are over 4.5 billion social media users worldwide, with an average user spending about 2 hours and 27 minutes per day on these platforms. Among young people, these figures are even higher. In many countries, it's not uncommon for teenagers and young adults to spend 3 to 4 hours daily on social media. A global study found that Generation Z, those born between 1997 and 2012, spend an average of 2 hours and 55 minutes per day on social media. However, this can vary significantly between individuals and cultures. In addition, about 34 million videos are posted on TikTok daily, and global social media advertising in 2021 stood at $116 billion US. So, we've considered what social media is, how it all began, and looked at a few examples of social media platforms. Now we're going to move on and discuss the positive impacts of social media on young people around the world. One of the most significant benefits of social media for young people is its ability to foster connection and facilitate communication. Platforms like WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook allow young people to stay in touch with friends and family, regardless of geographical distances. This is particularly valuable for international students or those who move away from home. According to a study by the Pew Research Center in 2018, 81% of teens say that social media makes them feel more connected to their friends. Secondly, social media serves as a powerful educational tool. Platforms like YouTube and educational pages such as Facebook and Instagram provide access to a wealth of information and learning resources. Young people can watch tutorials, participate in online courses, and join study groups, enhancing their educational experiences outside the classroom. Thirdly, platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube provide young people with unprecedented opportunities for self-expression and creativity. They can share their artwork, music, writing, or any other form of creative expression with a potentially global audience. This not only allows them to receive feedback and improve their skills, but can often boost confidence and self-esteem. Finally, social media enables young people to find and connect with others who share similar interests, experiences, or challenges. This can be particularly important for those who feel isolated in their offline communities. Online support groups and communities can be found all around the world, from Zen Care, a resource that helps connect users with therapists, to Goodall, which offers a place for young people to make friends, find support, help others, get inspired, share ideas, and highlight their achievements. So these positive aspects of social media demonstrate its potential to enrich young people's lives, providing opportunities for growth, learning, and connection that were unimaginable just a generation ago. However, it's important to note that these benefits come with potential risks and downsides, which we'll explore in the next section of our lecture. So let's move on now to consider some of the negative impacts of social media on young people. Despite the positive aspects that we've been talking about, social media also has significant negative impacts. One of the most concerning issues is the effect on mental health. Excessive use of social media has been linked to anxiety, depression, and loneliness among young people. A study published in the journal Computers in Human Behavior found that high levels of social media use were associated with increased levels of anxiety and depression. Similarly, in The Anxious Generation, How the Internet Has Damaged Our Kids' Mental Health, in 2024, Jonathan Haidt explores the significant impact of the internet and social media on the mental health of young people. Haidt argues that there has been a noticeable increase in mental health issues among teenagers. In addition, he explains that these problems have worsened with the rise of social media and digital technology. Furthermore, the author presents data showing a strong correlation between increased screen time and declining mental health, and cites studies indicating that the more time teenagers spend on social media and online, the more likely they are to experience mental health problems. The book emphasizes how smartphones and constant connectivity have disrupted normal adolescent development. This includes issues such as reduced face-to-face interactions, increased sleep deprivation due to late-night screen use, and the erosion of offline hobbies and interests. Secondly, there is the link to low self-esteem and the impact of comparing one's lives and feelings of inadequacy. Haidt discusses how social media platforms, with their emphasis on social comparison and validation through likes and comments, contribute to feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. The constant exposure to specially created images of influencers and celebrities showing off their glamorous appearance and lifestyles can increase anxiety and depression. This is supported by a survey by the Royal Society for Public Health in the UK, which found that Instagram was associated with high levels of anxiety, depression, bullying, and FOMO, or fear of missing out. What is sometimes called the Facebook effect refers to the effect that likes have on our psychological well-being. Those with low self-esteem tend to feel bad if they perceive that a Facebook post of theirs has received an insufficient number of likes. Another major problem is cyberbullying. Social media platforms can sometimes allow the development of harmful behavior, including harassment and bullying. The anonymity provided by the internet often emboldens individuals to say things they would not say face to face. According to the Cyberbullying Research Centre, about 34% of students report experiencing cyberbullying in their lifetimes. In addition, social media is often blamed for the way misinformation or fake news is spread. Many examples of this appeared around the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, including the false rumours of a link between COVID-19 and 5G broadband technology, or that Hillary Clinton was running a child trafficking ring from the basement of a pizza restaurant. Although this is widely believed to be because users lack the critical thinking skills necessary for distinguishing truth from falsehood, or because of their strong political beliefs skew their judgment, a study by the University of Southern California suggests that social media platforms' structure of rewarding users for frequently sharing information may be a more important driver in the spread of fake news. In addition, according to a UNICEF paper, children are active users of online resources but do not always have the cognitive and emotional capacity to distinguish between reliable and unreliable information. As a result, not only can they be harmed by misinformation, but they may also spread it among their peers. Finally, there is the issue of grooming and exploitation. Once again, the COVID-19 pandemic created the perfect conditions for abuse, with increased demand for abusive content, more time spent online by children, and greater use of live streaming platforms. A BBC article discusses some disturbing findings from the Internet Watch Foundation, which warned about an emerging trend of online sexual abuse, including involving siblings. The IWF found 511 examples of sibling abuse between September and December 2020, accounting for about 1 in 30 instances of self-generated content. Grooming, referring to the tactics used online to sexually abuse young people, often starts on social media and gaming platforms before moving to video chat or live streaming services. These negative impacts highlight the importance of promoting responsible and balanced use of social media among young people. So, we've looked at the positive and negative impacts of social media on young people. Let's move on to look at how governments around the world are seeking to regulate social media with a view to protecting youngsters. In many countries, there is an ongoing debate about the need for regulation. Some argue that stricter regulations are necessary to protect young people from harmful content, cyberbullying, and privacy breaches. Governments and regulatory bodies in various countries are exploring measures such as age verification, content moderation, and data protection laws to create a safer online environment for young people. One example is that the UK government has proposed the Online Harms Bill to improve safeguarding measures and to give Ofcom the power to fine companies and block access to non-compliant services. Key features include privacy settings by default for users under 18, prohibiting children's personal data, and requiring clear privacy information for young users. Another example is the United States COPPA, or Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, that prohibits the collection of personal information from children under 13 without parental consent. Proposed updates include extending protection to teenagers up to 16 years old. Meanwhile, the Spanish government plans to introduce parental controls on children's smartphones in new legislation that aims to protect young people from the harmful effects of social media. Young people under 16 will not be able to access or register on social networks, and under 18s will not be able to access digital spaces like video games, which employ random reward mechanisms. There are numerous other examples of government regulation of social media with young people in mind, such as South Korea's shutdown law, which originally prohibited children under 16 from accessing online games between midnight and 6 a.m. These examples demonstrate the varied approaches governments are taking from imposing usage limits and content restrictions to enhancing privacy protections and safety measures. However, it's worth noting that many of these regulations face challenges in implementation and enforcement, and debates continue about balancing protection with personal freedoms and the practicality of some measures. Finally, we come to our conclusion. As we've explored throughout this lecture, social media is playing an important role in young people's lives worldwide, bringing both significant benefits and notable challenges. We've seen how platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and WhatsApp offer unprecedented opportunities for connection, self-expression, and learning. Young people can maintain close ties with family despite geographical distances and access educational resources that were previously unavailable to them. However, we've also examined the darker side of social media, the potential for mental health issues, cyberbullying, and privacy concerns. We've looked at some of the views of young people on the impact of social media, and we've considered how governments around the world are responding to some of the problems social media brings. The challenge for society, for parents, educators, policymakers, and for young people themselves is to encourage a healthy relationship with these powerful tools. This means maximizing their benefits while mitigating their risks, ensuring that social media enriches rather than diminishes young people's lives. This brings me to the end of my lecture on the impacts of social media on young people around the world. Thank you for your attention.